First reading is by Genesis 2:15-17, 3:1-7. The Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to till it and keep it. And the Lord commanded the man, "You may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it you shall die." Now the serpent was more crafty than any other wild animal that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God say you should not eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, 'You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, nor shall you touch it, or you shall die.' But the serpent said to the woman, 'You will not die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.' So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to be make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made loincloths for themselves. Word of God, word of life.
Praise be to God.
Let's read Psalm 32 responsively. Happy are those whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered.
Happy are those to whom the Lord imputes no iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit.
While I kept silence, my body wasted away through my groaning all day long.
For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of summer.
Then I acknowledged my sin to you, and I did not hide my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin.
Therefore let all who are faithful offer prayer to you. At times of stress, the rush of mighty waters shall not reach them.
You are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from my trouble. You surround me with glad cries of deliverance.
I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you.
Do not be like a horse or a mule without understanding, whose temper must be curbed with bit and bridle, else it will not stay near you.
Many are the torments of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds those who trust in the Lord.
Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. The second reading is from Romans 5:12-19. Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death came through sin, and so death spread to all because all have sinned. Sin was indeed in the world before the law, but sin is not reckoned when there is no law. Yet death exercised dominion from Adam to Moses, even over those whose sins were not like the transgression of Adam, who is a type of the one who was to come. But the free gift is not like the trespass, for it is the many died through the one man's trespass. Much more surely have the grace of God and the free gift in the grace of one man, Jesus Christ, abounded for the many. And the free gift is not like the effect of one man's sin. For the judgment following one trespass brought condemnation, but the free gift following many trespasses brings justification. If because of the one man's trespass, death exercised dominion through that one, much more surely will those who receive the abundance of grace and the free gift of righteousness exercise dominion in life through the one man, Jesus Christ. Therefore, just as one man's trespass led to condemnation for all, so one man's act of righteousness leads to justification and life for all. For just as by the one man's disobedience the many were made sinners, so by the one man's obedience the many will be made righteous. Word of God, word of life.
Thanks be to God.
Please stand.
We are turning, Lord, to hear you. You are merciful and kind, slow to anger, rich in blessing, and with love to us inclined.
The Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. He fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterward he was famished. The tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to a holy city and placed him on a pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." And Jesus said to him again, "It is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to a high, very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. And he said to him, "All these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship me." Jesus said to him, "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve only him." Then the devil left him, and suddenly angels came and waited on him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Christ.
Please be seated, and now I'm going to invite Kris to come up. And I'll just give a preface before you start, Kris. So Kris came up to me, I don't know, a month ago, and said, I'd be willing to give a Lenten talk. And I said, unfortunately, I've got people for those, but if you're willing to be really public about this, because you'll be on camera, you could do it on a Sunday morning. And she thought, I guess I'd be willing to do that. So thank you for being willing to share.
Well, please bear with me because this was much harder to write and just being up here than I thought it would be. I even had asked Rick and Pastor to put this in the PowerPoint because I can see it back there, and that's my inspiration and strength. Good morning. My name is Kris, and I am an alcoholic. God gave me the courage to say those words for the first time on December 9th, 1996. I will be celebrating 30 years of sobriety on December 9th of this year. Alcoholism and addiction are a lifelong battle. I have worked hard on my recovery and would like to share some of what I've learned with the help of God. Both of my parents were alcoholic. My mom did go through treatment and was sober for the last 10 years of her life. My dad drank until he died. My dad was 57 when he passed, and Mom was 67. I was 19 when my dad passed, and 28 when my mom died. I was the youngest of 5 children and still at home, and my mom and I became even closer in the 10 years after Dad died. She became my best friend. The thought of her ever dying became my biggest fear. So when she did die, I didn't want to feel the pain. I felt I couldn't handle it. So even though I did drink, I drank more and more every day. The more you drink, the more you need to drink to feel it. Your body builds a tolerance. This drinking went on this way for 7 years, continually getting worse. I knew I had a problem, but I was scared. Scared for me, my health, and possible death. I knew I had a problem. My possible death. My blood pressure was very high from drinking. I was scared of my husband leaving me because of my drinking. I was scared of the unknown. I was scared if I did quit, what would life be like? Life without alcohol? That's really all I had ever known. What if I couldn't do it? I had called Alcoholics Anonymous 3 or 4 times when I was drunk out of my skull. That didn't help because I couldn't remember what they told me. I also prayed to God a lot, asking for help. I just wasn't ready to listen. Finally, I decided I was ready to stop. My understanding is that God had listened to my prayers and gave me the strength I needed. And I talked with my oldest brother weekly, and that convinced me it was time. He had quit himself in March, and I was very proud and inspired by him. Ironic how I could support my brother so much in his sobriety, but I couldn't help myself. Not yet, anyway. So I made an appointment with my doctor. My doctor was aware that I had problems with alcohol because I had been on prescriptions in the past that contained Antabuse. You can't take Antabuse while you're drinking. It can make you real sick or kill you. So while my doctor knew I had a problem, he did not know to what extent. Neither did Joe. Alcoholics are very sneaky. I asked my husband, Joe, to meet me at the doctor's office. When we met, I told my doctor I want to quit drinking because I think I have a problem. He asked me, how many drinks have you had before this 1 o'clock appointment? 4. I saw Joe's jaw drop. He was thinking, how could she have had 4 drinks already? Wasn't she at work? Like I said, alcoholics and addicts are sneaky. They find a way to get what they need. My doctor sent me directly to detox for 3 days. He had wanted me to do an in-house program, but I had a job I didn't want to lose, and no one else knew how to do my work. There wasn't much backup in a small business. So I was admitted on a Monday, released on Wednesday, and back to work on Thursday. I was told I would never succeed in my sobriety without in-house treatment. I did agree to see a counselor at first 3 times a week, then 2, and then 1 for about a year. And I agreed to attend AA meetings on the same schedule. In the time right before I made the call to my doctor, I was getting very sick and falling down. And the world was so dark, it's really hard to describe. I felt so alone, so sad, so scared. My life seemed so dark. Why was I still alive? But in that darkness that I was seeing, there was always a little corner of light. When I think of it now, I believe that was God. It was that little piece of light that gave me the courage to get help. It was hope. And so my new life begins, literally. That is what it felt like. It was so surreal. I didn't really know where to start. It was like being born again. It was scary, exciting, confusing, happy, sad, all at the same time. After seeing my parents and relatives drink all the time, I thought that's what everybody did. I started drinking and smoking when I was a junior in high school. I met new friends there and wanted to impress a boy who was part of this crowd, and they all drank alcohol and smoked, so I did too. I really didn't know how to act or what to do without alcohol. The first year of my recovery, my counselor told me, you have to learn to like yourself and be good to yourself. The first thing was being honest with myself about myself. This was not easy. I always thought I was a nice person, but when you have to dig down deep to the very pit of your soul and think about the things you've done, your words, your thoughts, your actions, it wasn't a pretty picture. I needed to apologize to those I loved and try to make amends for the ways I had hurt them with my drinking. And the hardest but most important thing was to forgive myself. My friends and family were very supportive, loving, and forgiving. A lot of people I thought were my friends deserted me. They felt I had betrayed them by quitting drinking. You find out who your real friends are. It took a couple of years for me to learn to forgive myself for who I was. I kept praying to God, Finally got the message that he loves me and forgives me, and since he is a part of me, I needed to love and forgive myself too. To get better physically, I started walking at first 10 minutes a day on the treadmill, working up to 3 miles a day, and I started doing workouts. Joe and I also started to play golf. We had played in annual tournaments before, but those tournaments were more about the drinking than the golf. But we both fell in love with the game. Joe bought me lessons, and golf fit well with my recovery. It was outside, which I loved, and we walked, so we got exercise. And golf is also a game that teaches you patience. Don't dwell on the bad shot you just had. Stay in the moment, focus, and relax. If you try too hard, your game falls apart. Many parallels to life's moments. To improve myself mentally and emotionally, I continued faithfully with my counseling and AA meetings. I also started doing yoga and learned how to meditate. I also spent more time outdoors. Being in nature does wonders. But I felt my soul is what needed help the most. I needed to feed myself spiritually. So I started my faith journey, and that continues to this day. While God has always been a part of my life, I realized I needed to get to know Him better. So I started journaling my thoughts. I read the Bible. I read daily inspirations and books about near-death experiences to try to learn more since I had so much trouble when my mom died. I wanted to understand it more. I tried to become more involved here at church. I started with ushering, then reading, and then 10 years into my sobriety, they really needed help with Sunday school, so I volunteered to help with 3rd grade. They were a great bunch of kids, all very special in their own way. I ended up teaching them right through confirmation, 6 years, and I still keep in touch with some of them today. I hope they learned as much from me as I did from them. And also at the time I was working for a Jewish family. I had worked there for 13 years and learned a lot about their religions and traditions. And I even borrowed a Hebrew school book from my boss's wife. She was teaching Hebrew school while I was teaching Sunday school. And I wanted to compare their book to the Bible to see the different translations and compare with my own interpretation. I found it very different, but so very beautiful. And then I found even a book called Golf for Enlightenment by Deepak Chopra. And it really shows how you can use the lessons of golf in your everyday life. I also started, probably most importantly, an attitude of gratitude. I made a list of things I was grateful for every day. And when I was looking back at my journal to write this, it brought back a lot of memories and emotions. I was so happy when I read my list, and it is the same as what I have thanked God for every night since I wrote it back in 1996. Only the names of our pets have changed. Thank you, dear God, for your love and forgiveness, for blessing me with Joe and Travis and Harley and our wonderful family and friends, for our health, for our home, the food we eat, our jobs, and everything we take for granted, for watching over all of our loved ones there with you. I also realized that while I had always said my prayers, I was only saying the words. There wasn't a lot of feeling or meaning with them. It's kind of like speed reading. So I started saying my prayers very slowly. So when I was thanking God for all that I was thankful for, I would envision the people I was thinking of, or I would think about our home. And while it's far from perfect, it keeps us safe, warm, cool in the summer, dry, and gives us what we need, which is what God promised. I was trying to be more present for prayer. In 2005, I had to have my very first surgery. They wanted to remove half my thyroid because a biopsy had come back inconclusive for cancer. I was terrified of having surgery. I thought for sure I was going to die. I couldn't find any peace to ease my worries. And then I said the Lord's Prayer, slowly, reflecting on each line. When I got to "Thy will be done," my body just totally relaxed, and I exhaled like the weight of the world had just been lifted from my shoulders. I was going to be fine no matter what happened because it was in God's hands. Releasing my fear to God gave me peace. Pastor Yelly came to the house the morning of the surgery and prayed for the doctors, nurses, and surgery staff with Joe and I. That made me feel better too. I went through the same with my breast cancer in 2023. Pastor Harold said a prayer with Joe and I. It is such a beautiful, warm feeling when you know prayers are being said for you. I truly believe in the power of prayer. It was releasing control to God that got me through these times and made me look at life very differently. It helped me in my work life and in life in general. I could handle the changes at work and the changes that life gives you, because by letting go of control showed me I had to trust God, and I didn't worry so much about everything, especially not the little things. I also learned not to be afraid to ask for help. I had always tried to help everyone and take care of things myself, but obviously I didn't do a very good job taking care of myself. And when I finally did ask for help with my drinking, everyone was so kind and genuinely wanted to help. And I know when I offer help, I want to help, but sometimes I just don't know how. But now, when people offer their help, if I need it, I tell them. So if they're just saying it to be nice, they better watch out, because I'm going to say, hey, yeah, this is what I need. And I did return to counseling a few times in the last 30 years for different reasons. Blocking emotions, which can be fairly common for addicts or abusers who have used a substance because they're not really feeling anything for long periods of time. And I needed to learn how to handle my own emotions on my own without alcohol. I had anxiety over turning 40 and anxiety over 9/11 that same year. Counselors, doctors, nurses are professional helpers, but we don't always need that kind of help. Many times, I think we just need each other to get through each day, whether it's a smile, an ear for listening, a shoulder to cry on, or someone just bringing you a cup of coffee when you really need it. I've come to believe that's why we are all here, to help each other through life. So what have I learned on my 30-year faith journey so far? Trust in God. He does listen. By trusting in God, I was able to take the first steps towards recovery. I was able to battle breast cancer. I was able to fly in an airplane, even though flying makes me nervous. And last year, I was able to zip line with my husband in Hawaii for our 40th anniversary, even though I was absolutely terrified before we left. That was literally a leap of faith for me, 300 feet in the air. But I was so happy I did it. It was so beautiful, and I loved it. And I was able to accept the death of my brother Charlie last May, the brother that was like a soulmate to me. and the person who knew me the longest and the best. This was one of the biggest tests for my sobriety, and while I still miss him terribly, my faith assures me he is feeling God's unconditional love. Secondly, I learned to be truly thankful for everything. For me, this was such a big step. I always thought I was thankful before, but focusing on thankfulness gave me a more positive attitude. Being truly thankful for everything makes me happier. I see things differently. For example, instead of looking for a spot close to the store, I now park more of a distance away because I'm thankful I can still walk that far. Or being thankful when a squirrel runs under my car, but then I look in my rearview mirror that he made it across the street safely. I'm thankful to be alive. When I was drinking, I never thought I would live to see 40. Thankful just being able to feel. When I was drinking, I didn't feel much. Being thankful helps me realize I have everything I need. Release control to God. This goes with trust. When I give my problems to God, I have to stop worrying about them. To me, if I still worry about them, I am not trusting God. They're in God's hands no matter what happens to me. I found that this builds my faith. But it wasn't and still isn't always easy. While I know everything will be okay, things always don't turn out the way I would like. But I accept the results because it is God's plan. I try living in the present. I can't change the past. I can apologize. I can try to make amends and then move on. I can't control what other people think, how they act, or what they do. I can only do the best I can, and when I fail, I try to do better the next day. That's why each day is a gift. I try not to live in the past, but I don't want to forget it either, because remembering what my life was like then also helps me stay sober. And it really helps to live only 24 hours at a time, actually minute by minute, because things can change so fast. So these are my thoughts of what has happened in my life during one specific event where I had made a concerted effort to know God better. And I continue with that effort. Today, I am confident that God is with me all the time. And yes, right now too. And while they are not formal prayers, I have many conversations with God on a daily basis. And I feel genuine when I do this. I figure God knows me better than I know myself, the good and the bad, so no use trying to hide anything. I've had epiphanies or light bulb moments that have come at different times over the past 30 years. It seems like the more I have God in my life, the more God allows me to see. And it's almost like a puzzle where the pieces are falling into place. Where something will happen, and all of a sudden, I know why something happened 20 years ago, all of a sudden makes sense now, and what I was supposed to learn from it. It doesn't mean that I don't have problems, worries, anxieties, or that my life is perfect, or that I have all the answers, or that I am always happy, or that I don't make mistakes, or have bad days, sad days, self-pity days, you name it. What it does mean for me is when God is the center of my life, everything seems to fall back into place. Problems get resolved, and the bad days don't seem as bad or last as long. And it makes my life much easier. And even though my doctor said I wouldn't make it, with God's help, I am still sober almost 30 years later. And for this, I am truly thankful. Thanks be to God.
Thank you deeply, Kris. We'll continue with the hymn.